One of the biggest fears for people looking to get into rent-to-rent is it's too much hard work. In other words, you're chasing financial freedom, but are you just going to be replacing your current job for a new one? Well, you'd be right, because if you don't set up systems from day one, your favorite tenant will be WhatsApping you at 8 p.m. on a Friday night when you're tucking into your dinner. Nightmare. So if you're seriously considering getting into rent-to-rent, this video is for you, because I'm going to show you the exact systems, the exact framework you need to implement to make sure that you can be on that beach, sipping pina coladas and having the life that you really want. And this is the exact framework hundreds of my mentees have used to generate hundreds of £1 million of rent-to-rent revenue passively. Sound good? Let's get into it. I got a WhatsApp message this morning from my mentee, Claire. Hi, Simon. I hadn't done the numbers properly, but I've now realized this month I'm making 16.6K revenue, roughly 6K plus profit. It's crazy. Your program changed my life. I'm working 3 hours a week, maybe. It's really set me free. So the first thing we must do is we must start with the why. Why are you doing this? Are you more money focused right now, or are you more time focused? Because here is the thing. If I told you you could earn double what you're earning now, but it take a little bit more time, a lot of you probably are going to be more motivated, because guess what? You've got to put your seatbelt on first. You see, passive income is a luxury. It's a luxury that must be earned. And I absolutely love this model as an exercise to get clarity over this. So let's just take this cross, all right? And let's say that at the top of this cross, okay, we have amazing income, all right? This is loads of money, all right? This is loads and loads of money. And then at the bottom, all right, this is not a lot of money, not a lot of money at all. And then what we will do is over here, we will do, this is absolute happiness, okay? You're over the moon. You love what you do. You're feeling good, all right? It's easy. It's systemized. You've got loads of time. And then over here, we will do a sad face, okay? This is hard work, not enjoying it, hate my life, right? Now, the first thing I always suggest doing whenever we look at building a business with a client is what's more important to you. So if you can imagine it, up here, okay, we have, this is loads of money and really easy. I'm really happy. I'm loving it. All right. Down here, okay, this is, you know what? I'm really loving it, but the money is not great. Okay. The money is not great. Over here, this is, oh my gosh, I hate my life and the money's rubbish. This is where you do not want to be. And then up here, it's like, this is pretty hard work, but I'm making loads of money, right? So the first thing I would get you to do is do this right now with me and put where you are now. So let's just suppose, I suppose we could do this in red. This is where you are right now. Let's say at the moment, you love your job, but the money's rubbish. You might be down here somewhere, right? Okay, so this is your current job, all right? A lot of you, unfortunately, you probably hate your job and the money's not great either. But every now and then I speak to people where they're up somewhere here, okay? Somewhere here where the money is good, but they hate it. You know, like I see a lot of people who are, you know, they're professional people. They've really worked hard. Doctors, dentists, etc. The money's pretty good, but they are hating their life. It's taken a toll on their family life. They've got no time. They're stressed. So the first thing you want to do is just look at where you are now. Second thing we want to do is we want to look where we would love to be. So obviously, we all want to be up here, right? This is the dream. This is the dream. But what I often find is what's more important to you, and let's go there first. So if money is important to you, let's really focus on the money. And if it's a little bit of a struggle at the beginning, that's okay. But even if you land somewhere here, okay, once that income goes up, we can always work on getting you over there. First key principle. Now, just to give you a little bit more context, this is what I often find. And it is a real sort of, how would I describe it? It's a real poor assumption. And it's really poor money mindset and time mindset, because a lot of people, they detach themselves from their reality and then they allow that to distort their dreams and where they want to be. So sounds fluffy, but in simple terms, if you are currently working 40 hours, okay, and you are currently, let's just keep the maths quick. Let's just say you are earning 40K per year and you're working 40 hours per week, right? To earn 40K, that is obviously not passive, correct? That is obviously not passive. So if I told you, okay, well, in rent to rent, you may work 40 hours, let's pretend, but let's just say, for example, you could earn 80K. Would you do it? Well, of course you would, all right? You wouldn't be able to do these things at the same time, but if you could move from here to here, you would do, right? And the fact of the matter is this figure is uncapped, okay? This is uncapped. This figure, it's not going anywhere, really. You're just getting marginal increases every year, and that's not your responsibility. That's not in your control. Whereas this figure, we can increase this significantly. In fact, I've had my rent-to-rent business way over £1 million of revenue, and I've helped loads of people do the same too. But the reality is, if you come at it with this assumption, then what tends to happen is, I'm pretty sure we can get this down to 10 hours, okay? And we could probably, as I've said, we could probably get that up to 300K, no problem. So for me, that is passive. That is the dream, all right? So it's all what you compare it to. So it's really, really important just to understand when we're trying to come into this and systemize things, we're just really realistic that it might take a little bit more work at the start, but I promise you this, look at Claire. She's managing her properties in a few hours a week, making over £6,000 a month. And that is what can be done if you follow these systems. So how much time does it take, all right, to do rent to rent? Well, let's look at it. If I was to just do a chart like this, and let's say we just put time here, okay? This is like a lot of time. So we'll say high time, okay? And then we'll just do a low time right here. And then what I would like to do on the bottom, which is really cool, is at the bottom, I want to talk about the different phases of rent to rent, all right? The different phases. So in the middle, what we're going to do is we're going to, let's just call this is when you get the deal, all right? And then what we will do is over here, yeah, let's keep this. Over here, we will do pre-deal, and then over here, we will do post-deal. So what tends to happen is right at the beginning, okay, right at the start of this whole journey, let's grab a nice orange. Right at the start of this journey, this part is very, very, very low investment. Okay, in fact, you can do this stuff in as little as, let's call it 1 to 2 hours per day, 5 days a week. No problem. So in the pre-phase, we're setting up the business. We're doing our market research. We're starting to source properties. We're starting to view properties. This doesn't take much time at all. In fact, most of my mentees have full-time jobs, kids. They do this in the evening or they do this at the weekends. Sometimes they do a bit of this in their lunch hours or if they have any days off. So this part is really, really low time. What tends to happen as you get closer to this deal, this is just going to ramp up, okay? And then when we sign the deal, the time investment's going to go up because you're setting up the property, right? And then what's going to happen is you're going to find that time's going to go down, all right? The time's going to go significantly down because this is when we are renovating the property, furnishing the property, taking the photos. This is when we're setting up all the marketing. We're setting up all the systems around that cash flow, how to do all the sort of the cash flow elements of the deal. So let's say, for example, here at the top, you might find this part takes, you might find yourself at the property for 5 hours a day, let's say, for example. For a weekend, some people book time off because when you get to this point, you're going to be earning what? Well, you're very close to getting cash flow now. So you're willing to put the time in, right? But when I started, I used my friends and family and all that stuff. And, there's a few late nights, but it was worth it. Then post deal, all right, what you're going to find is your time investment, if you do this correctly, should just go back to base level. Okay, it should go back to base level. And to be fair, I'm looking at this now and, I like this 5 hours, but I tell you what, let's put 5 to, I'm just going to reverse it. This could be 5 to 10 hours. So over here, we're probably looking around, 3 hours a day, maybe. It's probably more likely. 3 hours a day. Once you're setting up the marketing, you're going to have to go to the properties, get some cleaners in the properties, dial it down. If you're doing HMOs, go and do a few viewings. But long story cut short, as you can see, once you've got the deal, the time goes to the same level, and then it's up to you if you stay here, okay, or if you want to immediately go into your next deal, and then the cycle will just continue and go back down. But if you follow systems, the investment to manage 10, 15 properties should be very low. Okay, so there's 3 phases to systemizing your business, and with each phase, your time investment will go down. So phase number 1 is we've got to implement software. Now, this sounds very scary, but it's actually not. And the beautiful thing about it is once we use the software or the platforms, we completely reduce our investment, because most of these sort of time consuming things can just be systemized through software now, software and AI. So what we do is we have all guest communications automated. We have all payments automated, deposits. We have all check-in information, checkout information, all of that. And then from the HMO perspective, we have all rents automated. Okay, all certificates are triggered to maintenance people, all maintenance issues, all through software. All our tenants have a mobile phone app. So what you will find with here is this will completely systemize your business and free up your time. So for most people, phase number 1 is going to probably reduce your time investment by 80%. That is how Claire is managing a couple of properties in a few hours a week. But if you do this correctly, you should be able to manage maybe 10 properties in a couple of hours a day. No problem. And you could do that from work because it's all going to be done from your mobile phone, right? Yeah, and I know you're thinking, duh, yeah, obviously we have to use software, but how? Yeah, I got you. Well, with Claire, what we did was we literally gave her all of my systems, all the automations, which are really time consuming to set up. So she didn't need to spend hours doing it. We just jumped on sessions, got it all dialed down and plugged in. We had a deadline to work to. And what that meant was it probably saved her 85% of the time, brought her investment right down. I think the biggest game changer for Claire was using smart pricing for a service accommodation unit. She's operating in London, so that we could really push for long-term big bookings. And her biggest booking, and this was within a couple weeks of just doing this stuff, okay, £108,000 booking. And she took 54K up front, 54K in 6 months, complete game changer and all systemized. And if you want to learn more about Claire, we spoke about her quite a lot on this video. I will post a link to her story below so you can check it out. The second phase, all right, this is the second phase. I call this the bridge, but this is all about, okay, then now let's create the processes, okay, to use these softwares, because it's one thing you knowing how to do it, but ultimately you want to build team and remove yourself. So you need to have processes or process so that for every single part of this business, what happens if, a guest is late and can't get into the property? What happens if there's damage done to the property? What happens if the boiler has a fault? How do you process that with the landlord and or the agent? So what we then do is we help build out processes that are tried and tested. So once again, you can just borrow those, plug them in, and that's going to prepare you for step 3, which is the big one. Because in step 3, what we then want to do is build team. This is the ultimate aim, because what happens is when you build team, you can remove yourself from elements of the business. And this is the ultimate aim, because the last thing you want to be doing is you dealing with the guest, you dealing with the tenants, you dealing with all the maintenance issues. So you build the software, then the processes, and then one by one, you outsource these to your team so that you completely free up your time. So I've got properties literally I've not been to for a few years, just through building this out. And that's exactly what Claire has done. She doesn't need to go to the property. She probably couldn't. She's got triplets. But it's all dialed in and systemized and now has team.